We're learning Perek Beis Halacha Zayin. The Rambam begins, Hilchos Megillah v'Torah b'Kiryoso. Somebody read the Megillah and he made a mistake. V'Kor Kriya Mishubesh as Yotza, and he read something that was incorrect. Let's see what the Peirush says. The Maggid Mishnah and the Hilchos Megillah is Saita Yerushalmi. Tanya, we learned, you're not specific, you're not exact with its mistakes. Rav Yitzchak bar Abba bar Machzia, Rav Hananel was sitting before Rav. One read Yehudim with one Yud. The other one read Yehudim with two Yuds. And neither of them was corrected. And we bring from the Maharsha, the Torah, that there are those who say that's when it remains the same. It doesn't change the actual meaning. But if it's an actual change in the meaning, you have a problem. The Shulchan Aruch explains that you're not careful with mistakes, and there are those who say that's only when it's a change in the language, but it remains the same meaning. Like that we find, which in the situation which we just mentioned, that one person read Yehudim, the other said Yehudim. And Rav didn't cause either to change his reading, because one of them definitely made a mistake, but it doesn't change anything. And the Mishnah Berurah explains that you have to read it again in order. If he wrote Yoshev and he read Yoshav in past tense, because Yoshev is present tense, or he wrote Neufel in present tense and he read Nofal in past tense, it's considered that he skipped over the entire word, and that would make it possible. You don't have to stand when you read the Megillah. The Rambam says even b'tzibur. The Maggid Mishnah cites Megillah, Hilchos Megillah, whether he's standing or sitting, you yoitza. It explains it in the Yerushalmi that that's to begin with. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's a concept that we don't do it that way because of the Kovod HaTzibur. Again, this is in the Mishnah, in Megillah 21a. It would seem that the Maggid Mishnah learns that according to the Rambam, the Chatchila, you could read it sitting, because he brings it so from the Yerushalmi. But Kol Omer Yoshev Yotza, the actual wording is past tense, meaning that to begin with one should stand, but if he did so sitting, it's fine. The Lechem Mishnah cites the Torah that Rambam disagrees on the Yerushalmi, that you have to, and it could be that Rambam agrees to the Yerushalmi that to begin with you can do it seated, but from the Mishnah would seem that it's only if you did so, you yoitza with the Ervid. He explains that the Mishnah is talking about B'tzibur. You shouldn't sit. It's not Kovod HaTzibur. The Yerushalmi is talking that you can do so to begin with is when you are an individual or reading it for your wife alone or for yourself. The Rambam says a language of the Ervid, because he's talking, referring to B'tzibur, and this is what Maggid Mishnah might mean, that the Yerushalmi is the proof for what the Rambam says, because you can learn the Yerushalmi is referring to even to only b'diavad, but l'chatchila one should do it standing. The Shulchan Aruch in 690 says that the halacha is a person can read the Megillah whether you're standing or sitting, but he shouldn't read it when you're reading in front of the tzibur, when you're seated to begin with, because there's a concept of Kovod HaTzibur. The Mishnah Berurah adds, you have to make a bracha while you're standing, like every mitzvah, or every birchas mitzvahs. Sha'ar HaTzion, the Mishnah Berurah cites from the Matzah Shekel that those who are listening should also stand during the bracha, because in a sense you have to stand just like the person who makes the bracha is standing, and when you have to answer the bracha. Going to the next page, the Bach explains the reason in the Rambam that b'tzibur you read it standing, because when Kriyas Torah we do it als Kovarat Tzibur, so to Megillah, they would seem to be the same reasoning. But he adds, even according to the Rambam, that women can fulfill the obligation of men with Megillah. Even so, but Tzibur, L'chatchila, a woman should not read because Kovarat Tzibur, just like by Kriyas Torah. The Bia Alocha cites like the Rambam in the Meiri, and he adds it's mutter to stand and to lean on something, even to begin with, because the standing itself is only a minik, therefore you can lean. Karu shnayim, if two read it, or afilu asor ke'echad, 10 people are reading it. Everyone who read and everyone who listened is yotzeh from the person he's listening to, even though he hears from many together. My Mishnah cites the Mishnah, Megillah 21a. The Gemara explains why is this so? Because Mikra Megillah is Chaviva, and the Rav brings it down in the Mishnayos, and people therefore want to hear every word, and therefore if you put intent, even if a few people are speaking, you're listening to the person that you're hearing from. And it would seem that this is a Tosefta in Yerushalmi, that a Godel can read it with the cotton, even Betzibur. At the end of the halacha, the Torah left it out, the Shulchan Aruch left it out, and it could be that this halacha is very simple. But the Rambam brought it because that's what we find in Tosefta Yerushalmi. The Lechem Mishnah writes, there's a chiddush. That one of them is a koyet and a cotton. It's not Meritza Acherim, and maybe Hashemer will hear from the cotton. Liyotzo still, since the God read it with him, we're not choshishim that he was Yosef in the cotton, and you can read it in Betzibur because the Godel is Yotziyam. The Godel fulfills the obligation of the Tzibur.